I'm going to tell you also that I'm no longer playing doubles in tennis with Ahmadinejad. And the Black Sea DACA that Vladimir Putin and I were sharing, I'm out of that deal now. These guys, I'll stipulate, but you should never use trade as a weapon in politics. If you do, you don't understand anything about Econ 1. Bhagwati has the Bhagwati theorems, where you always want to use a direct cure, never an indirect cure. Trade is not a political weapon, and it doesn't work. If embargoing countries on trade worked, North Korea 60 years ago would have seen the light and become a democratic, free market, economic, pro-growth, capitalist country. It's not worked with North Korea. It's not worked with Cuba. It's not working with Zimbabwe. Trade is not a political weapon and should be never used as one. We have tools to deal with political problems. I mean, we have the bully pulpit of the president. He can talk these people and make them feel bad and small. Well, that's a poor choice of words, but and that doesn't work. We have a little heavier tool to use against bad foreign governments. It's called the State Department. We have attachés, ambassadors, and all that sort of stuff we can do. If that doesn't work, we have the big one, which is called the Defense Department. You can shoot them, and that's a tool there. But you should never use trade for political purposes because it hurts you as much as it hurts them. It just makes no sense whatsoever. On this same area, I mean, the idea of offshore drilling that this administration opposes. You know, I am a tree hugger. I had one of the best private tree collections in the country when I lived in San Diego. I really did. I'm on the board of the Nashville Zoo. I've been very involved with the Cousteau Society and with the Wilderness Society. I am a tree hugger, and I think it is a travesty, and it's a tragedy beyond proportions when there's an oil spill, and the oil spill dissipates through the water and does enormous damage to our environment, plants and animals alike. The one about 10 weeks ago in Australia, they got 30 miles of the Australian coastline, was really an awful thing to happen. And all of you remember the Exxon Valdez up in Alaska. Was again a tragedy that took years and years to undo, and we should take it very seriously to make sure that these types of tragedies don't happen. But that having been said, the U.S. is more careful than any other country. And what these people don't understand is that if we don't do offshore drilling, Indonesia will. And if Indonesia does offshore drilling, let me tell you, there'll be 1,000 times more damage done than if the U.S. does in offshore drilling. They don't understand that this is a dynamic world, that people respond to changes in incentives and to changes in U.S. policy. It's just a sad case. We should be doing offshore drilling because we're better at it than the rest of the world, and we're more careful than the rest of the world. On nuclear power, again, I am not a nuclear physicist, and I don't understand this stuff. I don't know how to manipulate Feynman diagrams very easily. I can't integrate functions over Banach spaces and that type of stuff. But I do know how to make a safe nuclear power plant. I do know how to do that. I would allow any nuclear power plant to exist in the United States as long as the board of directors and the officers of the corporation lived on premise and sent their kids to school on premise. I will assure you that will be a very safe nuclear power plant. These people don't understand the role played by incentives. They just plain don't get it. They've got all this highfalutin math and all that stuff, but they don't know how to tie their shoes. They make all the Econ 1 mistakes and yet know the physics there. It's just, it's sad. You never fly in a plane where the pilot has a parachute and you don't. Are you with me on this stuff? I don't know if you're getting this, but I hope you are. Incentives are the key to good governance. This idea of cash for junkers. Have any of you heard this one? This one's a rope-a-dope mistake. I mean, I used to do one. I'll do my first one. Back in the late 60s when I taught at the University of Chicago, I tried to tell my students what people do who don't understand economics. The people who don't understand economics, the example I use, are people who think that jobs are good. Jobs are not good. Jobs are the cost you have to pay to get products. Products are good, but jobs are the cost. You know, if you have a choice, I'll let you work all you want, many hours you want, but I'm not going to pay you anything. Or I'm going to pay you a lot and never make you work. Which would you prefer? Come on. It's the product of jobs that's good, not jobs. Jobs are the cost. You don't ever want to create make-work jobs. It's a stupid thing to do. And the example I used to show the misunderstanding most politicians have about economics and jobs was I gave the example of, let's imagine that, what's his name, the wild and crazy guy who got caught for the Sharon Tate murders. What was his? Manson, Charlie Manson, the guy with a little swastika on his forehead. Imagine that guy escapes out of prison, finds 5 boxcars full of matches, runs around the country and burns down 99% of all the houses in the United States to the ground. Doesn't kill anyone, but burns all the houses down to the ground except for 1%. Then we catch him. We put him on the steps of the Capitol building and in public sight shoot him. He drops dead, so he'll never do it again. Let me tell you that it's very true. New housing starts will be way up. Employment in the housing industry will be way up, and people will be sleeping outside with the mosquitoes and in the snow. The U.S. will be a lot worse off. If we did cash for junkers, why stop at junkers? Why not stop at every car that's 3 months old or older and get rid of them all? Then we'll have full employment in the auto industry in Detroit as people walk back and forth to work. It completely misunderstands economics. Do all of you follow me on this stuff? I really want, these guys don't know straight up from sick'em. On the spending programs, they talk about the stimulus checks that go out to people who are going to spend more. That's true. They fail to remember that those resources have to come from someone. The transfer recipients get the money and they will spend more, but there is no free lunch, there is no tooth fairy. For every transfer recipient, there's a transfer payer. The people who pay those transfer recipients the money they get, they'll spend less. And the two stimulus effects net out to zero. There is no stimulus from the stimulus package, and this is academic economics. If you go to your price theory and look at the Slutsky equations, the income effects in an economy always sum to zero. That's it. This is Leon Volrad, Lord Hicks, Gwartney and Shoup in the American Economic Review, Bob Barrow at Harvard. It's economics. It's not this wishful thinking that these people have. Also, when you do a transfer payment like that, you reduce the incentives of people to produce. If you have 100 apples and you transfer 10 of those apples to people based upon some characteristic other than work effort, the people who produce the 100 apples now will receive 10 apples less for producing the 100 apples, and they'll work less hard and there will be less than 100 apples produced. What you know is all of these stimulus packages, they don't stimulate. Not only do they not stimulate, they cause disincentives in the system, and they actually will reduce output, employment, and production. I hope I'm not going way over your head on this stuff, but it's Econ 1 the 25th time. When you look at it, I hope I'm not, if you tax people who work, and you pay people who don't work, do I need to say the next sentence to you? Please help me on that. I mean, the thing Steve was talking about, which is so correct and so good, is, see, if you tax rich people and give the money to poor people, you're going to have lots and lots of poor people and no rich people. The dream in America, if you'll forgive me, has always been, how can we make the poor rich? Not how can we make the rich poor.